Hello everybody, it's Chibi, and today I'm here to bring you an anime review on Tokyo Ghoul Season 2, Route A, Episode 2. Now, this episode, quite surprised actually. I'm quite surprised on a couple of things with this episode that I do want to talk about. So, for the most part, we all know that this is going to be anime original, and it's completely deviated from the manga, which I am happy with. I am happy with it as a manga reader. But the one thing I am surprised about when it came to this episode of Tokyo Ghoul Season 2 was how some elements were exactly identical to how it was in the manga. Now, the parts that were actually identical was Akira's introduction. Her entire introduction with Almond and all that was pretty much similar, and the pacing for these parts that were actually the same to the manga, beautiful pacing, straight up beautiful pacing when it comes to some of these scenes in this episode. Or actually, no, I'll take that back. The entire episode, when it comes to the pacing, beautiful, like just straight up. When you see the progression of some of these characters, the actual introduction of some of these characters, the subtle symbolism thrown into this episode, this was once again another beautiful episode, and it shows you how Ishida, really, when he gets control of the will, he shows you how to make an anime of Tokyo Ghoul. And so, once again, even with the actual manga scenes, it made so much sense with the anime original scenes. So anyways, talking about this episode and diving into it, now that I've said my part about the anime and manga comparison, the episode, straight up, I love the different changes they did with this episode. Like that reveal at the end, with seeing Eto with her, like, you know, entire bandages off. I did not expect that shit. I straight up did not expect to see Eto's face already. I mean, we didn't get to see the full face, but we saw the lower half of the face, which is a massive jump in progression compared to how the manga was. And I'm like, dude, Ishida, you're revealing Eto? What the fuck? Like, I was like, whoa, when I saw that ending like that, I did not expect. So I'm kind of curious exactly what we are going to get. Are we going to have more build-up to Eto and stuff like that probably going on? I mean, with that ending, that's what I believe is going on. But anyways, the episode, we see these anime original scenes that pretty much focus on Kaneki, where he's actually going around, taking out different spots, and making the Ogiri Tree organization grow in certain areas. You can see how at the end of this episode, Kaneki and Ayato were actually fighting police and CCG members and stuff like that. You could definitely tell that they are trying to gain more, you know, ground. And that's pretty much what Kaneki and Ayato is actually doing at the end of the episode. And I mean, we see one actual segment in this episode where Kaneki's standing in the middle of the room, and you see a bunch of these corpses all around, like people that's been butchered and hacked up. And you can assume that the reason why all these people are dead is because of Kaneki, because he's just standing there, or he just walked into that room after everybody got killed. So, I mean, we don't know technically if Kaneki actually did that or not, but we can assume. The big thing, though, that you can get out of that scene was that one person that actually saw Kaneki and did not say nothing. Like, Kaneki knew he was there. You could easily tell Kaneki sensed that person was there around the corner, but he let that person live. So, I have suspicions about that. I mean, it makes me think that maybe Kaneki did not kill the people in that room, and maybe he just walked in there, or maybe he had some form of ounce of mercy, and he let the dude live for some specific reason. I have no idea. Or maybe he's planting the seeds to bring the downfall to Ogiri Tree. I mean, that could also be possible, because, I mean, at the moment, we really don't know the angle of Kaneki. Like, why did he really join Ogiri Tree? Most likely, it's very similar to what Ayato wants to do. I mean, from what I can assume, why Kaneki wanted to join Ogiri Tree, from Kaneki's personality, his changes, and what he did and his motive, it makes me believe that he joined Ogiri Tree because he wants to protect his loved ones, for instance, the people at Anteku. And so, maybe Kaneki is actually getting inside the organization to bring down the building or foundation blocks of Ogiri Tree and fuck them over. Like, I mean, what if Kaneki's planting seeds, like this one dude surviving in this episode, like, you know, how he was left there? What if Kaneki let him survive, or he can give information to CCG or something? Possibility. Now, moving past that segment, we get a character introduction in this episode, and actually, the character that was introduced in this episode was actually shown in Season 1. She was shown. Akira Mado, or Mado Akira, either way you want to say it first. Pretty much, Akira gets her introduction. And we did see a glimpse of her in the first season at the grave stone of Mado, her father, when Almond was actually going to visit his gravesite earlier on in Season 1. So we actually got a little bit of foreshadowing right there. So you gotta love how Ishida actually foreshadowed her character that far ahead, and the actual way Akira is going to be, like, for instance, the subordinate or partner of Almond. That right there is just pretty interesting. But the big thing about Akira's actual introduction is her personality. Her entire personality is intriguing. Like, the way she talked to Almond in this, like, she says, like, oh, if I say so-and-so first compared to this, I'll save, like, 0.6 seconds of my conversation, and I'll save up to, like, 2,000 minutes of time in the entirety of the year. I'm like, holy shit! Who counts that shit? Like, who freaking thinks about that when they're just in an average, casual conversation? That right there just shows you her personality, and she just does not like Almond at all. She does not like him. You can clearly get that impression from this episode, along with how Almond was trying to ask her out for dinner. Most likely, knowing her, she might have thought it might have been like a date offering, go, let's go on a date, but she's like, nope, I don't eat past a certain time, so yeah. Moving past that episode, it had some symbolism in it. Going on with some symbolism, we get more symbolism with Kaneki. Now, besides the actual obvious symbolism when it came to the English song, we had actual symbolism along with the coffee cup that Kaneki had in the episode. Like, when he sat down at the table before he was about to go on a mission for Ogiri Tree, you see Kaneki get a cup of coffee, and I found it very interesting how the cup of coffee looked very similar to Anteiku's cup of coffee in the way it looked. And from that moment, it made me believe that Kaneki, when he was drinking that cup of coffee, he was remembering his friends back in Anteiku and why he's actually there in Ogiri Tree in the first place. So seeing that, once again, very subtle symbolism or a little bit of, you know, connections to Kaneki's past. And the other form of symbolism, oh my god, that English song, like, oh my god, the English song. That English song, man. Do I really need to dive into what that ending song meant? Like, I don't think I even need to, because it was obvious. And like, oh my god. The ending song and the beauty of that scene. At the end, with that anime original scene, when you hear that song, Kaneki and Ayato and Ogiri Tree, they're walking down the, like, row, and all of a sudden you see them going to attack these cops or CCG. That shit, man, amazing. I love that. I love the usage of English soundtracks in these past two episodes. Like, last episode, the ending was English, and then with this, we also have an English song pop up. That's just some kick-ass shit. Straight up kick-ass shit. So, the episode, it progressed a lot of different details. For one thing, what I noticed they changed in this episode was that instead of Rabbit, for instance, how it was actually the main focus in the last season, how Rabbit killed Mado, we do know technically Rabbit did kill Mado. Well, in this, pretty much the overall focus of who killed Mado is no longer Rabbit. It's actually Eye Patch in their description. So Kaneki is actually the target of CCG now for the killing of Mado, which is completely different from how Rabbit technically killed Mado. So seeing that little bit of change right at the beginning of this episode is like, oh shit. So that right there is going to change a lot of things. That one change alone, that simple change, is going to, oh my god, it's really going to change the storyline. I can't wait to exactly see what it really will change, though. Like, oh my god. Because you gotta think about this, okay? Let's put this in perspective. Mado, that died by Rabbit, as we know, but now is technically, supposedly, Eye Patch is the one that killed Mado, or he was a part of it, that's, you know, the CCG found out about. Well, who joined CCG, or technically is underneath Almond in this episode? Akira. So what's gonna happen when Akira comes face to face with Eye Patch or Kaneki later on in Season 2? We can assume we already know. So, looking forward to that. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about this episode of Tokyo Ghoul Route A? I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.